So with a lot of speculation up in the air, I wanted to dive in and break down the Russell Wilson rumors.
Perfect.
Before we get things started, make sure to subscribe to the channel and get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. So with that out of the way, let's get to the business. So over the past 2 weeks, I've seen a lot of Russell Wilson trade speculation about where he should go, where he could land, how trade scenarios could work out, what teams is he going to, and I just wanted to break things down and quickly give you my 2 cents. To be frank, I don't think he's leaving at all. Now, to be fair, I think the media as a whole has kind of gotten bored of repeatedly talking about the Deshaun Watson situation, as the Texans are really just spearheading the narrative that they are not going to trade Deshaun Watson. But honestly, this video isn't about Watson. I just think the media is a little bit bored, so let's get to Russell Wilson. So with some trade rumors and some trade speculation coming out, Russell Wilson's camp came out and gave the media a list of teams that he said he would like to be traded to if, and the big word here is if he's going to be traded to another team, it would be either the New Orleans Saints, the Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, or the Las Vegas Raiders of all places. But even with that all out in the air, Russell Wilson absolutely has not demanded a trade from the Seattle Seahawks organization, and I wanted to quickly break down my thought process as to why he's not going to demand a trade, why the Seahawks absolutely are not going to trade him. So let's quickly examine the Russell Wilson contract between himself and the Seattle Seahawks. In 2019, Russell Wilson signed a contract extending his prior deal 4 more years, on top of which he was going to add $140 million, $107 million guaranteed with some incentives, and $70 million absolutely guaranteed by the Seattle Seahawks. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Seattle would be paying him $70 million guaranteed until the year 2023, which is 2 years from now. In this contract, Russell Wilson inserted a no-trade clause, very similar to the Deshaun Watson situation. He would likely name his destination if he were to be traded and not accept trades to anywhere but. So that's kind of more or less the preface. Like I was talking about earlier, the destinations in which Russell Wilson said he would be comfortable with going if the Seattle Seahawks were going to decide to trade him. But as I'm diving deeper further into this contract, you're going to understand a lot of the reasons why the Seahawks are not going to trade him. Like I said, the Seattle Seahawks are on the hook for at least $70 million of that 4-year extension. If they were to trade him, they would be on the hook for $39 million this upcoming season. And with the reshuffling of the salary cap heading into the 2021-2022 NFL season, obviously not a ton of carryover from last year, the Seahawks are going to be in a huge bind as far as the money situation goes. So releasing or trading your star quarterback is not going to be advantageous to your salary cap situation. So on a monetary side of things, I do not think the Seattle Seahawks are going to move on from Russell Wilson, and that's just talking money. Performance-wise, Russell Wilson has a ton of accolades on his back in the trophy case. Russell Wilson was the fastest quarterback to reach 90 wins in NFL history. He also brought the Seattle Seahawks their first Super Bowl championship in 2013, along with some Legion of Boom help along the way. But Russell Wilson is the man in Seattle. The ownership, the fan base, the GM, the coach, they all love Russell Wilson. So breaking things down, what do the Seahawks need to do to just keep him happy? But let's rewind just a bit to this last season. What were some of the things that led up to some of this speculation in the first place? This past season, the Let Russ Cook movement was in full swing during the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. Russell Wilson was the front runner for the MVP race. Guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett were having superb receiving seasons. DK, of course, stepping out of his shell his second year, his sophomore season, with the assistance of the Let Russ Cook campaign. Look, Russell Wilson is an absolute star, absolute stud, but he cannot do it all by himself, as was evident in their 3 out of 4 losses later on in the season after that 6-game winning streak. After the Buffalo Bills game, he sat down, Russell Wilson did, with the coaching staff to try to share some frustrations, try to get the Seahawks offense back on track, and ended up leaving that meeting very upset, very angry with the coaching staff as they were not listening to his input, reportedly. And the Seahawks didn't just lose those games all by themselves. Well, they kind of did. The offensive line started getting exposed continuously, getting Russell Wilson sacked and hurried and forcing him to scramble outside of the pocket. Along that stretch, out of 3 to 4 losses, Russell Wilson had a bevy of turnovers and honestly did not help the Seattle Seahawks situation. The offensive line situation has been, well, shabby to say the least. The Seattle Seahawks this past season placed 26 in sacks allowed, allowing Russell Wilson to get hit or hurried or sacked over 46 times this past season. Russell Wilson hitting the dirt quite a bit. The offensive line situation absolutely horrendous ever since 2012. 2013 and beyond, the Seahawks placed bottom half of the league in sacks allowed, bottom 10, 5 out of those 8 years. So look, the Seahawks offensive line situation not getting any better. Russell Wilson absolutely frustrated with that situation, and that's where some of the speculation stems from. The Seahawks have just done nothing besides getting Dwayne Brown to try to help mitigate the amount of sacks that he has taken. And if this goes on for even one more year, we can really see the pressure being put on the Seattle Seahawks to trade Russell Wilson. But I just don't think it's going to happen quite this year. For many reasons, the Seattle Seahawks are still a contender minus the offensive line woes. The Seattle Seahawks went out and got some premier talent on the defensive side of the football to get that defense bolstered. That was allowing a ton of passing yardage last season, making Russ cook whether he liked it or not. Adding Jamal Adams and Carlos Dunlap started helping out the defensive woes, but the offensive line situation once again has not been solved. Dwayne Brown holding things down on the left side is going to be 36 years old, entering his 14th NFL season. And while Dwayne Brown is a savvy stud left tackle, the loss of Mike Iupati declaring for retirement, the 4-time Pro Bowler formerly of the San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals, is going to be a huge loss along the offensive line. So the big question is, who do you bring in to fill in that gap on the offensive line, and how do you make this offensive line even better? And answering that question isn't going to be easy. As of this moment, according to overthecap.com, the Seattle Seahawks only have $4 million of anticipated cap space to head into free agency with, so there's not going to be a lot of cap room unless they make some moves to bring in guys to help bolster the offensive line to keep Russ's jerseys a little bit more clean on Sundays. But if they were going to make any kind of move, the guy I think they should absolutely bring in along the offensive line is going to be former New England Patriots offensive guard, former second-team All-Pro performer, Joe Thuney. He excels in pass protection as well as run blocking. I think he could be just the guy to fill in that left guard spot left open by Mike Iupati, and I think the offensive line on the left side at least starts to look a little bit better. Russell's jersey is going to look a little bit more cleaner on Sundays. But beyond trying to figure out a way to sign a guy like Joe Thuney, the Seahawks offensive line from the center on still needs to be addressed, and it's going to have to be addressed in the NFL draft. Hopefully the Seahawks can work some of that late round magic to bring in some good offensive players. There have been plenty of studs going in later rounds in the offensive line over the past few years. Most notably this past season, a 5th rounder, Michael Onwenu for the New England Patriots, was one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. So there are late round gems in the mix there. You just gotta let that scouting department do its job and find those diamonds in the rough. So look, in conclusion, I do not think Russell Wilson is actually going to leave the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think he's going to demand a trade this offseason. I think they're going to continue for at least another year, monetarily as well as performance-wise, and I think Russell Wilson is going to really pressure the front office, really pressure guys like Pete Carroll, really pressure the general management for the Seattle Seahawks to go out there and bolster the offensive line. Because looking around this roster, Russell Wilson has a lot of talented players around him. DK Metcalf, an absolute star, broke out his sophomore season. Tyler Lockett, one of the best veteran wide receivers in the NFL. Chris Carson is one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL. And defensively, you've got guys like Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, Carlos Dunlap along the defensive line, and Jordan Brooks, their 1st round pick last year, is going to start to emerge further into the defense. So look, the Seattle Seahawks have plenty of talent. They've got good coaching. I have a lot of faith in Pete Carroll, but it just comes down to management and scouting. finding those diamonds in the rough, getting Russell Wilson a better offensive line. Because personally, I love watching Russell Wilson play football, but it seems like he's playing in way too many of these close games, playing from behind way too often. And for a guy that has excelled and brought this team to the playoffs season in and season out, they have yet to miss the playoffs with him as the starting quarterback. You really got to do right by Russell Wilson. You got to make him as comfortable in that pocket as possible. Because when Russell's cooking, the dude is almost unstoppable, as we saw through those first 6 weeks. But if you're getting after any quarterback, it could be Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, you're going to disrupt plays, you're going to throw off timing, you are going to succeed on the defensive side of the football. And if the Seattle Seahawks want to compete for more than just playoff spots, they want to start competing for Super Bowls while Russell Wilson is in his prime, they need to do right by him. Get him some help on the offensive line. But with that, thank you so much for watching the video. Check me out. All my social media is down in the description below. Feel free to also subscribe and get the bell and know every single time I'm dropping a video. And I'm gonna be posting weekly, of course, 5 o'clock Eastern time every single Friday. We're doing NFL draft updates. We're doing NFL free agency updates, and you get your 10 minutes of football content right here. So I just appreciate you watching. Keep on watching, and of course, subscribe. Oh, and don't forget, of course, like, comment, and share. And I just want to, again, thank you so much for watching the video. My name is Tristan Blake Rines. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Adios.